We are very thrilled to have the president of Wirepoints with us here, so please give a warm welcome to Ted Dabrowski.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it. Thank you all for allowing me to be here, and it's great to be in this crowd, so passionate about what really matters. And the culture is so, thank you. The culture is so important because we all know that all the financial stuff and all the bad policy is downstream from culture. So thank you all for everything you said, and it's pretty inspiring. It's actually quite humbling to go after a lot of what you guys have said. At Wirepoints, we exist because we can't stand that the truth isn't being told. That's a simple reason. And when you hear Governor Pritzker, or, well, it doesn't matter, a lot of Republicans, they can't seem to get down to the truth, right? So everybody's got to say something a little wrong or a lot wrong. And so my colleague, Mark Glennon, I want you guys to know John Klingner here in the background. John is the guy, when you see numbers, the truth come out, John's behind a lot of that. So we exist because of that. And I want to tell a story of what captures the essence of what we do. You guys will remember Lori Lightfoot. She was bragging about 84% record graduation rates at Chicago Public Schools. 84% graduation rates. And we're like, that doesn't square up with some other facts. So John and I went and looked at the reading scores, right? These are the reading scores directly from the government. And only 26% of kids could read at grade level. So we said, wait a minute, that's okay. So we wrote about it. We got published. It got in the national news. It was all people were all making fun of Lightfoot and all that. And the more important thing is I get a call from Decatur, Illinois, and I get a call and they say, Ted, will you come on the radio and talk about that report you did? So I said, sure. So I go online to say, well, let's see how Decatur does, right? And so I go to the Decatur public school data, all Illinois State Board of Education, Governor Pritzker's numbers. And there you go to Decatur, you click. I always go to third grade because if you can't read in third grade, you're in big trouble, right? And I look for the black children, and they're the majority in Decatur. I looked at the number and it said only 2% of black children could read at grade level. And I said, well, that can't be true, right? It's a mistake. It's got to be 20. They forgot a zero. I mean, and even 20% would be horrific. So we click over on the math and it was 1%. So we said, well, that can't mistake. So we get on the phone, we call the district, and they say, it's correct. And it was like no big deal. So we get in our car, and John and we go down to visit the district because we still couldn't believe it. And they make all their excuses and things aren't good, and we don't have enough money, never mind how much money we do spend here in Illinois. And it was sad. So John and I do this big report on it. And the Wall Street Journal picks it up, right? They do their head editorial on it. And it was a wonderful editorial because they didn't just mention Wirepoints with the one. They took our whole report and covered it. Now it's become national news. And a lot of people in Decatur weren't happy with me because I was exposing, tough stuff. So I even went to a committee, an education committee, and I spoke in front of the House Education Committee. And Maura Hirschauer from West Chicago, the state rep there, after I give all my stats about how 2% can read at grade level in Decatur and 4% in Peoria and 8% in Rockford, she goes, Ted, have you ever been into a third grade classroom and audited them? And I'm like, is that your question to me? Like, is that her proof to me that I don't know what I'm talking about, right? So this is the kind of defense we had. Now, fast forward a little bit more. Darren Bailey's having a gubernatorial debate with Governor Pritzker on TV, right? Statewide TV. And I forget how this comes up, but the questioner asks about the Wall Street Journal piece and about reading and about literacy. And Bailey makes his good comments on it because he was aligned with us and he understood it. Governor Pritzker has the gall to say, first of all, he calls us a right-wing carnival barker organization, right? That's what he says on TV, just to discredit us. And then he says that the numbers aren't true. They're just not true. Another lie, right? And so this is what motivates me because, so the reason I'm telling this story is nobody cares about these kids. And we're talking Rockford, Peoria, Decatur, Carbondale. It doesn't matter where you are, our kids can't read. And I want to make that the biggest issue, because we can't have a functioning society. We can't have a workforce, right? We can't have a future if our kids can't read. And so there has to be massive goals for that. So now I say all this because I think this is the best opportunity we've had in a long time in Illinois to mount an opposition. Things are so extreme here. You guys covered it. This new mental health bill. My God, I can see everybody saying, oh, we need a mental health. Our kids are in trouble. They don't understand just how damaging and bad this bill is. But we've talked about all the other extreme things that are going on. But I think there's other kitchen table issues that I want to persuade you to make sure you don't forget, because some of these kitchen table issues will work well with people who don't understand the cultural side of things. Let me start with this, right? It's too expensive to live here. 2 days ago, I was in Kewanee, town of, 15,000 people? And a gentleman there said that he's paying 4% property tax rate on his home. So he's paying $12,000 on a $300,000 home. We are chasing people out of our state. And everybody knows it. So if you can be persuasive about this kind of issue with your neighbors, maybe it's harder to be persuasive about something else. But this is one where they're destroying people, and you may find an ally because they feel this pain. And all you need to do, and I do it all the time, whenever I'm driving around the state, I go drive through the neighborhoods, and I look at the housing stock, and sometimes I say, it's getting tough. Taxes like this really disincentivize people to take care of their homes, because how can I throw more money in my home if it's going to go down in value? This is a killer. Number two, right? Number one, it's too expensive to live in Illinois. Number two, there aren't enough good jobs. This chart John just did. Since Pritzker took office, Texas has gained 1.6 million new jobs. They've created 1.6 million new jobs. You got Florida with 1.2 million new jobs. You got Georgia with 400,000 new jobs. Illinois, almost zero. Our economy's dead, is stagnant. And when you don't have job growth, you don't have wage growth. And when you don't have wage growth, you have more poverty. And then you have more people on food stamps and Medicaid. That makes Pritzker happy, sadly, right? He wants more and more people on Medicaid and food stamps. We want less and less people. We want people who are they're independent, right? They can make ends meet because they have meaning from work. They have growing earnings to take care of their children. No jobs. And he should be, what's the right word for that? He should be something for that. He owns this. This is his years. And he will never show you this number. He'll never tell you this number. He will hide behind something like a 1 trillion economy, because that's just the number that is. The next one, and I mentioned this, so I don't have to belabor this one, but in Waukegan, just 16% of Hispanic kids can read at grade level. In Chicago, Rockford is 21 and 10. Peoria, just 9% of black children can read at grade level. 5% in Mount Vernon, 14. This is the one you should look at. They love equity, right? The other side loves equity. Equity means everybody's equal. The white children in Decatur are just 14% can read at grade level. They're achieving equity, but all the way down here. Wow. I couldn't believe that number. I thought it was false. So if our white kids can't read, they're joining the black kids down there. It's a disaster. I don't know what happens to Decatur. Bottom line is this, and this is another stat. You can love politics, hate politics. You can love right, left, conservative, liberal. It doesn't matter. The key message is this. The Democrats have controlled this state for a long, long time. They got super majorities now. They've had the governorship for most of the last 20 years. Chicago, they've owned for 93 years. Cook County for 100 years. In the last 20 years, 3.9 million people have moved into Illinois. 5.5 million have left. We've lost 1.6 million people. Could you imagine how vibrant our state would be if we still had 1.6 million more people? Maybe our taxes would be lower, maybe not, because they'd probably tax more, right? They'd have more people to go after. But this, to me, is a sad statement. Those of you, let me see my time here. I think I've reached my time, right? No, I got 2 minutes. Listen, the last thing, people ask me where I get my motivation to fight for Illinois. Before I came back to Illinois back in 2007, I worked for 9 years in Poland. I was in Warsaw. My dad was from Poland. He escaped when he was a young guy, escaped from the communist Poland. He's one of my heroes. I could talk about him later. While I was in Poland from 1997 to 2008, I was working with a bunch of people who had survived 50 years of communism. They destroyed the country. They destroyed freedom. They destroyed individual freedom. They destroyed private property, corporate ownership. They destroyed all that. And here I was just 9 years after the wall came down, working with everybody feverishly to get it all back. They had every excuse. 1980 Solidarity Movement had every excuse not to do anything because the tanks could have rolled over them. They could have all been killed. But they united and they fought back. And today, Poland is one of the most successful, fast-growing countries in the world. And I get to play my small part in that. I was deeply engaged in it. But I see a vision for Illinois in that way. If we only unite, yes, right, as they did. They saw the math wasn't working, and they said, we're going to stand up. The math doesn't work here anymore. Neither does the culture. Neither does the corruption. So I encourage all of you, follow Wirepoints, and thank you all for everything you guys are doing, because it's a great group here.
Thank you, Ted. Outstanding stuff. Be sure to check out Wirepoints if you don't already.